Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. Today I have got a very special guest. It's my good friend who's been in the property industry for over 43 years.
Yep, 43 years, a long time.
43 years. Architect, property developer. He's done projects in Australia, Asia and Africa.
Correct.
It's Mr. Ron Forlee.
Yep.
Ron, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Neil. It's been a few years since we did the last one.
We did one 3 or 4 years ago. On
yeah, just before COVID. Or during the peak of COVID.
Yeah. But we've known each other for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. And you were one of my earliest students.
I was, yeah. And we're both incredibly passionate about affordable sustainability, providing good accommodation to the market. So
exactly, yeah.
I thought it'd be a good idea to get you back into the booth.
Thank you very much.
We can see what's going on.
Great.
And just by having a little chat just before we hit record, there's a lot going on with you, isn't there?
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I like to keep myself active, although I'm semi-retired. Mentally, I need to keep myself fit.
Yeah.
Physically, I still do running. So physically and mentally, when you reach my age, which I won't divulge here, you got to keep to that level.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So for the people that haven't heard the other podcasts that we recorded, Ron, give us a little bit of the background of the journey to who's Ron Forlee,
Sure.
How did you come to Australia?
Okay, well, it starts from I graduated as an architect. I was born in South Africa, immigrated in 83, went back to South Africa for a while, came back in 86, started my architectural practice, grew that to a significant size, and then we had a recession in around about the 90s. Went back to South Africa, did a lot of projects my own, got involved into shopping centres, a lot of housing, office blocks, so I had a bit of a mix across the board with commercial and residential. Came back in around about 2000. Then I was targeted, if I put it that way, by a number of governments to go and consult internationally. I did a lot of work in China, as you know, we speak about Asia, Vietnam, a lot of work, infrastructure projects in Africa. And in Africa I went as far as Egypt, right? That's the experience I've had. And then I came back around about 2000. Well, when I say came back, I started looking at work back here because I was getting sick and tired of travelling.
Western Australia always pulls you back, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah.
Good place.
And when you do international work, it's very hard to control projects. And it's like being a pilot. You just got to look at from the surface and what's happening. But when you do projects, you've got to be on the ground and to ensure the details are followed through. So I didn't have that opportunity. So I came back and, I've been doing other work in terms of that. Worked in a few projects like hotels when there was a huge demand during the mining boom. I've been working on other social impact projects, especially the housing area. For example, I've still got a project that I'm linked very closely to you guys. We'll be looking at co-living as the next generation of affordability. And I got involved in blockchain technology for a short period. As you can see, the fallout of what's happening to the crypto world, it's too volatile. But the concept I had was not using cryptocurrency, it was just using blockchain for fractionalization of real estate. So everything I do with the technology, it's focused on real estate. Because that's my core area. And all I'm doing is applying technology. And so the last, I would say, 2 years, I've been very focused on artificial intelligence.
Incredible.
And see what the benefits are for real estate. So I've put out a book already on that, an ebook.
Right.
I've written a number of articles on it. You can find on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I talk about it.
We'll get the link for the ebook. We'll stick it in the podcast notes as well so people can check it out.
Sure.
Check it out. But what a journey, hey? I mean, South Africa to Australia China, Vietnam.
Yeah.
A lot of people think real estate will just keep you in one place, right?
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Everybody needs housing, right?
It's in mind all over the world.
Yeah.
We're still fortunate compared to other countries, third world countries, where affordability is just non-existent.
Especially
people
now.
Yeah,
It's out of control, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us about EOIR International and the team behind that as well.
The team is sort of because I'm semi-retired. It's basically myself. I've got a team that I work very closely.
Yeah.
They're more on a contract basis.
Yeah.
I work very closely with Curtin University and some of the stuff I'm doing at the moment in technology. So EOIR is going to change its format. Previously, EOIR was a development management company that assisted a lot of governments and institutions in their development process and how to fund it. But as I'm looking now more independently, I'm creating a chatbot out of that so people can get information. But it's an interesting model.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're semi-retired. You've
Yeah.
been in the blockchain space. You're looking at AI now. You're going to have to tell people how old you are, Ron, because everyone will be thinking, how old is
No,
this guy?
I'm focused now. I think it's the last leg of my entrepreneurial journey, focusing in one area.
Yeah.
That is AI integration with real estate,
Yeah.
whether it is investment or development.
Well, I think the important thing is age isn't a thing, is it? It's like, as long as you keep yourself active and
Well,
like you say,
fortunately, I sit on a desk, unlike a bricklayer or tradie. At least I can still keep the mental ability
keep
going.
the mind ticking though, yeah?
Yeah.
Healthy body, healthy mind, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the projects you did in South Africa.
Oh, South Africa. That's on my second journey on return. I did a shopping centre.
Yeah.
I think it was 38 at the time. Took on a huge risk.
You were 38. Yeah, right.
It wasn't a major shopping centre. It was a neighbourhood shopping centre, but still a sizable. It was about 2,000 square. It's about 2,800 square metres of retail area. Right.
Decent size.
Yeah, and then did some office blocks, very small strata type office blocks. But in terms of housing, probably over 200 units.
In South Africa?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Is there any similarities between South Africa and Australia, the way we live or the way we design and build houses?
Oh, the systems are different. What I have in South Africa, the apartment space is not as huge as it is in Australia.
Right.
There's still a lot of land, but they use mainly the villa type concept, single or double story townhouses, but highly secured.
Right.
Obviously, with the crime rate in South Africa, majority like this communal type and secure living, or gated communities.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what about Vietnam? What sort of projects were you doing there?
Oh, that was more consulting for government on housing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, cool. Same in China?
China, no, that was quite diversified. China, it was working with more master planning. China's so big.
Yeah.
Right. And I got involved in a project in the medical precinct, how to redevelop it, in the existing area in Shanghai. Similarly in Hainan, I worked very closely with the university, did the master plan for the technology park. Did other projects together with other developers in China. Yeah, from retail to apartments. Yeah.
Do you miss it, or was it a stressful time of life?
I enjoyed it. I mean, China was an interesting journey because, if my cultural heritage comes from there, and it was going back, and it was an interesting journey.
Yeah.
But it becomes very hard, Neil, when you're trying to control projects. It used to be based in Australia, but you kept on flying in and out to see how things are going. So it was more passing on to intellectual knowledge. Yeah.
The flying in and out, it looks sexy from the outside, doesn't it? But when you're doing it, you're like, another time zone. Where am I? What time is it?
Oh, no. I definitely enjoyed it, but it becomes a bit tired after a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So back to Australia then.
Yep.
What have you done in Australia in the way of, obviously we love affordable housing, me and you, it's a big thing.
Yes.
What have you done in the way of housing in Australia? Has it all been in WA or have you done stuff on the East Coast
I've consulted because, it's not necessarily my own projects.
Yeah.
The way I've structured it is that I do consulting and advising. So I've done projects or together with other parties in Queensland, predominantly more in Queensland. But in WA, there's a few clients that I work with in terms of assisting them in more in strategy, right? Because, you know, when you get into developments, what I do find that a lot of developers think we'll build it and it will come. I rely heavily on research.
Yeah.
Don't put pen to paper or designs until you've done your research, right? Let the market demand what you're going to build. Yeah.
What's the market demanding nowadays? Is it still demanding the 4x2 single-storey double lock-up garage?
No, it's not the same, Neil. It comes back to affordability. We've got a housing crisis at the moment, and I've put papers on that, and that's exacerbated by, you know, the number of builders that are not available at the moment, and due to COVID and the stimulus that was brought in at that period of time, the supply chain became a problem. You know, a lot of the big companies, tier 1 builders, have gone belly up. So
it's a shame to see as well, isn't it? It's
yeah, and you know, my opinion on that is that I think it comes back to the way we are structured in terms of our financing. We tend to have this concept of fixed price contract, right? So I understand it for a house or smaller projects, but when you get to multi-story, how long does it take to build?
Yeah,
right, 2.5 years. Right, the market conditions could change. Right, apartments are different because you're pre-selling. You've got a commitment earlier. But if you're doing a typical commercial building, all right, has a mix, you know, things can definitely change in terms of supply chain. All right, so the fixed price contract poses a problem, and that's why you have this problem at the moment.
Yeah. I suppose it can work for your sausage factory builders that pump out very similar product over and over again. They've got that sort of system that they want to put you through.
They've got systems, quite correct.
Yeah.
And I think that it needs a paradigm shift. I mean, you would take your building companies like Lend-Lease or Mirvac, it's all in-house. What we have is a system here, we go to tender. And I think to bring it back is to bring the builders early in the process. And I think through artificial intelligence, you can do that because everything is transparent, it's recorded, and you use blockchain technology as well. So it's more open source. I mean, contractors over here are basically managers, right? Whereas they've got to make a profit, of course, but the margins are there, you said it. And you've got to bring a quantity surveyor as well. So you want to qualify the subcontractor's price. It allows the quantity surveyor to bring another subcontractor in. So it's about working as a team. So that's why you see the big companies where it's an integrated system that don't go bankrupt.
Yeah, right.
Right. So the whole system of locking in a builder with a fixed price contract, and if something goes wrong, and you know as well, the commercial builders, the margins are very thin, one little mistake could cost them the job.
Yeah, I've been looking at, Jerry Hansen, who's been doing all the tall buildings, kicking around. I'm actually trying to get him on the podcast. But how he's got through the crisis that we just got through and delivered in the time that he has.
Well, I think it makes sense because that's what I'm speaking about, an integrated system. So Jerry gets involved in the early stages of the project.
Yeah.
So they know the budgets, they know what they're going to stick to, they know that's the margin they're going to make. Whereas in other cases where the builder's a third party almost, right?
Tender it out.
So the builder comes in early, they can monitor all the costs the way through.
But if they tender it out, fixed price, builder goes broke, which we've seen happen. I think there was a report came out, there was 2 builders a week that went broke in 2022.
Not surprising.
2 a week. So these are just hard-working...
23,
hard-working men and women that just, took a punt, wanted to try and create a better life for themselves, got caught out by this crazy world that we ended up in and this crazy pandemic, and they've lost a lot. So which is most unfortunate, and that I've seen it back in the previous recession in the 90s, right, where we had a boom then. The number of builders, they sign up contracts and find that when they actually had to build it was going to cost them. They were making a loss. So they might as well just fold up the company. That's the unfortunate thing about it. It is a shame, isn't it? So, Ron, over the years you've consulted, you've become a coach and a mentor, author. What are the books that you've got out?
Neil, it's... I think when I last spoke to you, I've written another 5 books. The previous books were mainly on development. I've written some on investment now. In terms of my online courses, they are online. Previously, I think you used to come to my workshops.
I did,
That was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
When COVID happens, so I might as well put them online. So it doesn't need my presence all the time.
Perfect.
But I do have a number of students that contact me. I speak to them. But yeah, it's so much easier, and it's more affordable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember that. So I think we were 2 or 3 streets away when your old office was there. Yeah. And I remember coming in, Charisse was there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy how it all pans out, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember all the students.
5 or 6 years later.
Yeah, and look at you, well done. I mean, it's
because
hopefully the teaching went well.
I've surrounded myself with the right people, right? I've been asking the right questions, and when I ask a question and someone gives me the answer, I generally take action on that answer.
Excellent.
That's the only way you can learn as well, isn't it? The theory only gets you so far, but the action.
Yep, very, very important. Theory is it's all up there.
Yeah,
but get your feet and your hands into it.
That's where the best.
That's where you're going to learn.
That's the best lesson.
And there are going to be failures, but at least you've learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us about sustainability, affordability, and ESG principles, because I know you're into ESG at the minute. We've been speaking to some funds in the UK.
Yep.
And we actually put a proposal forward to one of them, and it passed their ESG stage.
Excellent.
Got a big tick.
Yep.
But go back 12 months, I didn't even know what ESG was, and a lot of people that listen to this probably don't. So do you want to take us through ESG and what the principles are?
So ESG is environmental, social and governance.
Yep.
It's part of the whole sustainable journey. As an architect, we were always looking at sustainability and on the social side. That's why I speak about housing being on the social side, right? So ESG is just an extension of that. They brought governance into play. And what is happening, and predominantly in the UK and other countries, I went to Singapore last year, ESG, so it's high in terms of reporting.
Right.
The Australian government has been a bit slow in enforcing it. There are a number of listed companies that got to do the reporting, but it's going to apply to a lot of developers or building companies to do the ESG reporting. So when I went to a seminar a number of months ago, I think 2024, the government will start pushing that ESG reporting. So basically what it is that if you're doing a project, you've got to do a report, or if you're a company that, say a building company or in the real estate area, I'm speaking more specifically real estate, but it will apply to all other industries.
Yep.
You got to report to ASIC, or whichever the governing body is at that time. I mean, we're not too sure at this stage, but they will be monitoring that report, right? So in terms of that, there are going to be metrics that you've got to achieve, right? And that report's got to go in, right? So when we speak about the E, the environmental side, that's to do, are you using, say, for example, in construction, renewable products, right?
So solar panels, stuff like that.
All that sort of stuff. When it comes to social, who's it for? What are your policies? I mean, in terms of that, the material you're using, where the supply chain's coming from? It's not child labour or anything like that. So that reporting comes to play. When it comes to governance, how is your organisation governed? What are your policies in terms of making sure that everybody is transparent and it's well structured, right? So a lot of people say, it's all going to cost money to do all that reporting. But I've looked at it and said, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be that expensive. And fortunately for artificial intelligence, you could do that, right? So the systems that, and we're still busy with that at the moment, is to do an AI integrated together with blockchain to do an ESG reporting system. Right. So I've got two sectors in terms of AI in the real estate space. You've got, let's look at residential, because as you know, in property, there's two aspects. There's the residential side and the commercial side.
Yes.
Right. Two different asset type classes, right? So I've created one called My Home AI, which I'll go into a bit later.
Yeah.
But let us because we focused on the commercial side and you asked about ESG. So that's more B2B, because if you're not getting involved in commercial buildings, who are looking at developers, right? And obviously the contractors. So that relationship is going to be important.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're doing a commercial project, you be keeping all your data somewhere.
Yes.
Right. So we've created this platform called Project IQ. So it's a centralized management client system. So what it does is automate all your files. All right. We've got looking at software tools whereby even your email as a reference point, it automatically goes into this Project IQ. So it's basically a filing system.
I need that.
All right. So the filing system automates into subcategories, etc. Right. But you control the project. So if you're the development manager or project manager, when you can allow your engineers to submit their reports into the system. So if you've got to do ESG reporting, right, it's all about data. So if you've got this data already in the system, you use artificial intelligence just in real time just to collate a report.
Yeah. Job done.
Yeah. Instead of being sitting, so you can imagine the efficiencies coming out of that. Instead of now manually taking every report and now analysing it. So you could use AI to get the report coming through.
So it's like a project management system, multiple projects in there, and then the AI essentially categorises everything into each project.
So you do it project by project.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. If you're doing a development, but as a company, yes, you could probably multiple. You can. It's all about your company reporting. But when you're doing a development, everything gets collated there. Even the early research, every early talks, minutes of meetings, etc. Everything is kept there. So you could use it in a normal system, but if you want it highly secured and decentralized, then you can use blockchain. Right. That's if you want to.
Yeah.
So the options are there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The ESG investments, I pulled some data off online. So global ESG investments are set to reach 53 trillion by 2025.
Yep.
So that's and a lot of these investments are coming from like super funds,
correct,
pension funds, all that type of stuff, and they've got certain categories within their fund that they need to invest into ESG projects. Is that right?
Oh yes, definitely. It's moving in that direction.
So they've literally got money that they need to get out the door, and they need to
find
these ESG
part of the mandate
projects.
is in terms of those super funds. Is mandated towards ESG.
Yes.
And not many people are aware of it. So if you're into the property space and you can pitch your project accordingly and say, we are ESG, or we are basing our project on ESG principles, like, for example, the project that we're looking at, it's all based on ESG principles.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So what was the software called you've created?
Well, it's still been undertaken. We're still doing the back end.
Right.
So it falls under the EOIR company.
Yep.
And the particular software system, we're calling it Project IQ.
Project IQ, that's
it. So we are at the stage looking at funding for that. So if any investors are out there to come and join, more than welcome. Working closely with Curtin University on that.
Yeah.
But speaking about EOIR and ESG, is that although I've created the platform, it's actually an integrated system for all parties. So what I'm trying to do too is saying, okay, we may be leading the platform, but we want other companies, whether it's builders, whether it is architects, whether it's quantity surveyors, professionals, consultants, suppliers, be part of this commercial platform, right? What we want to do is help them also to create their AI systems as well. So it automates everything for them and helps them. Because if, for example, I'm a developer, I'm looking for building material or certain that does it comply with the ESG, and if I can access some of the products out there, through this community, right? It makes it so much better for myself as a developer, and plus, obviously, as a supplier or products manufacturer.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Where do you come up with all these ideas, Ron?
I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I just pop.
Every time I sit down with you start telling me about all these things. I'm like, God, this guy's never stops.
Look, hopefully it's not enthusiastic, but I am.
You are enthusiastic. 100%.
It's one of the across my journey, knowing the problems that I've had in my journey, and now with AI coming in, I said it's a tool. There are a number of negative things that have talked about AI, but I looked at it as a tool. How can it provide efficiencies in real estate or in developments, right? All these things, like even predictive analysis, if there's enough data, you can collate and say, what are the predictions going to happen? So, for example, housing, right? Even as the government says, look, we're a few 100,000 short, but what's in 20 years? If the pattern continues, so artificial intelligence could do that.
Right, so if we can look at the undersupply of properties we've got now and the population increase that's happening state by state, AI can kick out that forecast of what we're doing, right?
There's so much that can be done with it.
And it can do it like that, right?
Yeah,
it's like
and in real time.
Yeah. So what AI softwares are you using, Ron?
Look, it's predominantly ChatGPT, but I look at Claude. I use at Gemini, which is part of Google. So I've created this. It's called EOIR GDP, and it'll be launched probably in another week or two.
Oh, so you got your own data set?
Yeah, well, it's a custom bot.
Right. Okay.
It's a custom bot.
Yeah.
So in time to come, I can give you the links. And what that does now is that anybody can. It's going to be free, but obviously limited to a certain period.
Yeah.
Because I've got to pay for the tokens. The amount of usage.
Yeah.
But it also allows you to be part of the family. Okay. So that, as I said, in a few weeks' time, that will come out, and hopefully we drive a community with that. Brilliant. But that's in the commercial space.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So the other one, as I said, Home AI, which is different, right? That is, I saw a difference in the markets, and having been involved in residential, it's very consumer-driven, right? Because you've got owner builders, you've got people, first-home buyers, they will be looking at it. Now, it's also a $1 trillion industry when you look at it.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's massive.
ChatGPT's valuation was like billions of dollars weeks after it came out, wasn't it?
Yeah. So both of them are predominantly linked with ChatGPT or OpenAI, because I find their large language model a bit more advanced, because they're one of the early to enter into the market, right? A bit more advanced, right? And I use that as a base model, but I have my own knowledge base. All the books I've written, I have written a number of articles. That becomes part of the knowledge base.
Yeah.
So how that system works is that if you ask a question on AORGP or on My Home AI, it goes to my knowledge base first.
Right.
But to back it up, if the full answer is not there, it actually goes back to the large language model to pick up anything and to verify.
They're actually searching the internet as well now, aren't they? They're not just limited on that large language model.
That's what it is. So you got ChatGPT 4.0 and 4.5, and you got Turbo. You got Gemini, which is related to Google. That's real time. So they actually search the internet.
Right.
Yeah. Previous, about a year ago, that wasn't available, but now it is available. So if I'm doing stats or anything, whether I use Gemini or whether I use ChatGPT 4.0, it searches the internet. But it depends on how you ask the question. They talk about AI whereby a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But I can see how AI is going to work in terms of what we call prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is how you ask the question. Because bear in mind, it's a machine. It's also still learning, right? So you got to pose the question to get the right answers.
Yes.
It's not necessarily just typing, I want to do this or that.
Yeah.
You got to frame your questions to get the right answers.
I've been using it lately to bounce ideas off.
It's excellent.
Ask it questions, I'm like, what do you think of this? And how would you ask this question?
Well, I do it in terms, you're quite right. I do it in terms of research, right? And if I have a business idea, I bounce it off in real time.
Yeah.
I get the answers, but I don't go to one particular chatbot. I use others as well to see if it's the common answers are coming through.
Yeah. So what does Home AI actually do then? How is that going to help mum and dad investors, first home buyers, stuff like that?
Okay, so My Home AI, it's all about home ownership. Okay, whether you're going to be investing or buying your first home, or whether you're going to design your first home or build your first home, right? Then it goes to investing, because once you've driven equity in your own home, you can use the equity to go and invest, or you can develop. So it's covers those three areas, but it focuses on what we call home ownership.
Yeah.
Okay. Affordability is a problem, but it gives you ideas on how to save money, etc. So it gives you all the tips on how to search for your homes, what to look out for. So it's got that knowledge base.
Right.
Even in design, so as you know, I focus very much on sustainability, environmental issues. It speaks about passive solar design. You know, it leans towards that. And similarly, I've introduced feng shui into it. Right. So you can ask questions on that.
Yeah.
And it will guide you. The other part of that, which is quite interesting. So while you're designing, I use DALI 2.
Yeah, right.
So you can actually say, I want an image of a biophilic design home. Biophilic is the new trend at the moment, all greenery, similar to what you got in your office.
Yeah,
right? Okay, that whole feel. You can type that in and it comes up with an image.
Right.
But you can also say, I want a 4x2. It draws up the plan.
Yeah.
But obviously, it may not relate to your block. You've got to be a bit more definitive about it. But it gives you some ideas. Right, so these are all images created.
Yeah, could you load in dimensions of your lot in there?
Well, you've got to specify it. I haven't tested that level.
Yeah.
Because bear in mind, it's all based on American data.
Right.
So it's not really from Australian conditions.
Yeah, so it wouldn't look at the R codes or anything like that.
No,
right.
It wouldn't.
Okay.
It will probably get to that level, if you spend a bit more time to train the model to do that.
It's progressing.
But that's heavy investment.
It's progressing at a weird rapid pace.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. When you're thinking of the things you can do, and you say there, you can ask it to consider feng shui as well.
Yeah.
And wow, incredible. Where do you see HMO, co-living, and AI sort of working together?
Well, certainly, I think it should be into Neil. Because
we're using it, but we only use it to what we think we can use it in. So speaking to somebody like you, my mind's spinning because I'm like, wow.
To what level are you using it? May I ask?
We're using it for marketing. I actually put in there today, write me 20 questions to ask Ron Forlee on the podcast. I haven't used any of them yet.
All right.
But like I say, I use it to bounce ideas and get me thinking, because sometimes you can hit like a blank spot, right?
Definitely.
So I ask it questions like that just to get me thinking. I'm like, I like that, or maybe I can ask that question a little bit differently.
Yep.
We use it for a lot of the marketing, copywriting, stuff like that.
Yes.
And again, mainly for ideas, because it's not perfect.
Oh, look, it's AI, because they have this thing called hallucination. Have you heard that terminology? So you're very, very careful of using AI. That's why I say prompt engineering is very important.
Right.
So it as a machine, it demands itself to give an answer.
Right.
Right. I don't know if you read recently the problem they had with Air Canada, where somebody wanted a refund and the Air Canada hadn't loaded the actual policy of a refund. So somebody asked about it and it created their own refund policy.
Right.
Which is different.
So you need to set limits in place.
So you need to feed the knowledge base, right? What information that's been out. And what more is important, if you do set up a custom GDP for your own business, there's this thing called instructions. You've got to instruct the machine how to react. What is your persona?
Yeah.
What is your machine?
I think we've done that. I think Susan's done it.
Yeah, and you've got to specify how to answer the questions in a friendly manner. What's your tone? All that is very important. Yeah.
We went to a seminar with a guy called Kerwin Ray, and it was called the AI Summit to Scale, or something along them lines.
Yeah.
And Kerwin, he's got his finger on the pulse. He's always kind of ahead of the curve, trying all these new things. So he was using ChatGPT with some of the plugins that they've got, and they created an avatar of Kerwin.
Yes.
And all the time they've been training it, so they said this is how it first came out, and Kerwin's like a white fella with spiky hair, and they had a black fella with short hair in there. But over time, where they loaded more and more information in it, had been watching him, you could see how the avatar changed over time to look identical to this guy, right? And then he trained it. He put in talk about this. Obviously with a bit more detail in there, and the avatar started talking, and then he said do it in French, and it just started doing it in French, and then he said do it in Mandarin, and it just started talking in Mandarin.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And it looks like him on a video.
It's interesting because I'm assisting, and I'm part of another AI which is to do for seniors, right? Because I fit in that bracket. It's all to do with baby boomers, and it's called Wise Friends,
right?
And there we're looking at creating avatars, because one of the worst things about when you get older, losing a partner like myself,
Yep.
Loneliness is terrible. Plus the fact, in my days of developing an architectural practice, I developed and designed a number of retirement facilities, or homes, villages, and also aged care. Right, so understand what people go through. So we've created this platform as a group of doctor investors, because 50% of their patients are seniors.
Yeah.
So we're using that, and we're creating avatars, so that, it's not fully developed yet. But in time to come, you'll be able to talk to an avatar. I know it's not as good as a real person, but it's something better than nothing.
Yeah,
right. But as it becomes your companion, it's like you saying, "I want to bounce things." So you have an avatar that you can speak to, and it talks back to you.
Right, like a friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are psychological problems with that, and how you address it. Okay. But similarly, this is where you take it to the next level, because we're looking at artificial intelligence with telehealth integration of that. So if you're an older person, you can actually speak to the doctor in emergency, but it's trained just to give you the right answers and say, look, you need to follow up and go see a doctor.
Yeah, okay.
But how many old people at any time of the day have a problem? So we're using that, and also in terms of artificial intelligence, we can teach them how to do certain jobs as well. Yeah, through AI.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What sort of jobs can you teach them?
Well, part-time work. Yeah. Or train them. So, for example, now somebody's retired, but they've still got a very strong mind. And look. Let me take, for example, the people in the corporate world. They get forced to retire, but some of them are still pretty sharp.
Still sharp, yeah.
What type of work can they do, right? Mentoring, for example. How can they create mentoring programs?
Yeah.
Things like that, right? So, yeah, we're trying to help that generation still being active in the industry.
Yeah.
So we cover about 18 different subject matters, even travelling, right? Even how to behave on dating sites.
No one teaches you this stuff, right? So, it's like having a companion in your pocket that can give you some guidance when needed.
That's right.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
We're looking at upgrading our property management software at the minute because it's not ideal. We've been speaking to some different companies in Singapore, England, and we spoke to this guy last night in the UK, and basically you type in the address of the property that you've got, and then AI basically writes all the ad copy for you. So it says it's 10 minutes to a Woolworths, it's 5 minutes to the train station. Just all these little simple things. And the guy actually said to me, 2 years ago this was impressive, but now no one's impressed by it anymore. And I was like, I'm still impressed by that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose it comes to usage, there's going to be a percentage that are a bit more advanced. If I can pick up if an article is written by AI.
Yes.
Because I've watched it and I've been involved in that, right? But to the greater percent of the population's still got to enter that market, right? So, but it's a great tool. So imagine the time you've saved, right? But there's other formats where you can humanize it, your copy. That's not necessarily because you take, how Gemini would answer it, or how ChatGPT would give you answers. They use certain terminology, just pick it up automatically, right? But you can take that and edit it accordingly, right? So it's not necessarily just getting the product and just publish it. You've got to do some work, right, to humanize it, right? And make sure the copy translates to the way users look at it.
Yeah. Like you say, it's good for the idea, right?
Yeah.
But it always needs a proof check.
Yes, definitely.
So let's think of a real estate agent. Let's pick one, Harcourt, for instance, or something like that. How would Harcourt implement AI into their business to help them with certain things?
Okay, there's two aspects. There's the sell side.
Yep.
Okay, so somebody wants to find out something on in terms of a property, right? It depends on what information has been fed to it into the chatbot, right? But there are areas whereby it's taken up by other industries where they actually can do the complete sales pitch. But I think that can be, people are going to be aware that it's not a real salesperson, right? So one's going to be mindful. I think it's going to be limited in terms of arranging an appointment, right? Because if somebody wants one that will give the general information, and then for a real person to follow up, right? In terms of the management side, your landlords or your tenants to give the general information, right? And it's very important to train your AI to not give something too definitive because you've got a legal issue. I tested one bot in terms of finding out what are the construction rates here in Perth, WA, for a typical commercial project.
Yeah.
It gave me rates, and it's totally wrong.
Is it? How
so,
long?
Well, it was out by 50%.
Right, yeah.
Because the data it picked up was old data.
Right, yeah.
Right, although it meant to be advanced in terms of GDP4.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to train your model not to give that. So that's part of the instructions.
Yeah.
Is to give them general information, access to resources, rather than committing yourself. Because if I use that and put it in the feasibility study, right, and something goes wrong, I can sue. Yep. The company that's promoting that chatbot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've got to look at your legal aspects when you set it up. Too.
Yeah. So I was thinking in way of rentals, thinking of our company, for instance, let's say a tenant logs a job through the system,
yes.
A work order, for instance, we've got a leaking tap.
Yep.
Once that job's in the system, could AI look at that job, work out that it needs a plumber, and then look in our phone directory for John the plumber, for instance, contact John?
Definitely. So you would do something like Project IQ.
Yeah,
you could collate all your projects in there. Mm-hmm. So under the Project IQ, you might have 20 different properties. So you got 20 different files.
Yeah,
and you collate all the information. Who did the previous job? Did that plumber do the job? So it records all that data.
Yeah.
So and if it was the same problem, why was it fixed previously?
Right.
So you can put it in, and you can give instructions as well.
So say, for instance, we loaded all of our new build construction into Project AI.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, just before the builder's warranty, that's the 6 month defect warranty is there. We could log any defects that the tenants pick up, for instance, and then AI could organise them into categories of plumbing, electrical, painting.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
So when you say it won't take people's jobs away, it could take them away, couldn't it? Because low-level admin tasks could be replaced.
More lower admin, I would say. Yeah. But as I said, look at it as a tool. You're still going to need for example, you speak about copywriting. You still going to need the smarts of human intelligence into it to give a human feeling. Because as you've noted, some people are going to get more advanced and say that's AI driven. Right. So you still need that human touch.
Yeah. I can see when we use it within the business now and again. Let's say, for instance, when a podcast comes out, I can read it and just go, it sounds too AI. If that's a word.
Yeah.
Sounds, you can tell, like you say, you can tell it's being crafted by AI, right?
Yes.
So then we'll take it back out, have a little chop around with it a little bit, and then relaunch it again. So it's a incredible tool, to be fair, isn't it?
Oh, look, I have fun doing it. It's I've learnt a lot through that.
When we think about the things that we've got at our disposal now, AI, social media, all these things that weren't available 15, 20 years ago, right? Where's the world going to be in the next 20 years? I keep looking at Freddie, he's 14-month-old, and I'm thinking, what sort of world is this kid going to grow up in, and what's going to be available for him?
The world's going to change. Obviously, you got a young kid now. If the time I started my career, there was none of these tools. There was no internet.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. There was books on written on property development. That's why I wrote one.
Yeah. Mobile phones? No mobile phones?
No.
Architect plans are actual plans? Pieces of paper?
The old blueprint? That was the way. No, things, who knows? I don't know if I'm going to be around that time. But
I hope you are.
As long as I keep fit.
Yeah.
Definitely it's going to change, but who knows? But I look at AI as part of the new industrial revolution. There's a lot of negatives going to be talked about it. But at the same time, does it benefit society? And it depends how we control it. When you speak about the industrial revolution, when the tractor came out, people are going to say, we're going to lose all our jobs. But it improved the agricultural system. Right. So you've got to look at that. Any new technology coming out, does it really benefit mankind?
I think it forces people to upskill as well, doesn't it, and improve? Which is a good thing, right? You're being forced to do it.
Correct. And as you take those labourers during the Industrial Revolution, they were taken away. their jobs were taken away, but it improved the system overall. So you've got to look at it from a broad and overview perspective of what is the actual benefits.
Yeah. So let's think about AI and the project we've been speaking about there, the Core Living project.
Yes.
How could we implement it into there? Pre-construction, during construction, and after construction.
So if you take that particular project and you apply ESG principles, so you would set up your metrics and your direction of where you want your ESG and performance. So you got to set up your policies. And the AI is, when you feed the data, it does, when you do reporting, has it complied at each stage with the policy setup, right? So those are what we call metrics. Those are definitive, right? Does it fit in to the systems? And if you're going, of course, it will direct you and say, you need to improve on this or whatever.
Right. Yeah, great. Yeah. Fantastic. I'm blown away. It's my mind's ticking, do you know what I mean? God, there's so many. Well, can we talk about smarter communities? EOIR smarter communities? That's something that we haven't touched on. Right?
Smart communities. Look, smart communities was all about affordability.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a passion of yours, right?
It's similarly. It's look, as I see in generations, and when I speak of us baby boomers, we were the fortunate generation. The wealth that it was not created by hard work. It was created because we were born in this era. I bought a home when I came to Australia. It cost me $40,000 to build.
To build.
Wow. Right. And I think it was about $10,000 the block. Right. That property is worth probably about $1 million.
Yeah.
So if I stayed there, it would have cost me $50,000. I would be a millionaire if I stayed without doing anything else.
Yeah.
But if you look at your generation and the next generation, how is affordability going to come into play? Right. It's a massive problem. We as human beings need food, water, and shelter. Shelter is a massive problem.
Yeah. Right.
Income levels have not kept up with the housing prices.
Yeah.
Look at Sydney. You know, a lot of your generation have given up looking at housing.
How is the median house price in Sydney still increasing?
Oh, I think it's around about $1 million.
Money.
Yeah. It's crazy. Even the rental has escalated as well. So affordability is a massive problem. That's why the concept of smarter communities, which is now going more into what I call home AI, is to look at ways as a community we can improve the system, right? And there are ways. You know, it's all about how can we help the next generation get on the property ladder, because the price is going to go up all the way. How are there systems whereby people can get into housing, not necessarily the day one and they move in, right, but be part of an ownership of something that's going to grow with the capital. So if you look at our generation, everything grew because of capital growth. Right, our wealth is created, but unless you can get into the property, you're not to be part of that capital growth. So the concept of home AI. It's based on how we can pass on knowledge for people to get into housing, because everybody's needs are different. You know, if home AI says, look, this is a pocket of areas where it's a bit more affordable, how far it's from your work, you can use that, right? Yeah.
And how can people get into the market if it's unaffordable for them? Are we talking about fractional investments as well?
More fractionalisation. Yeah. I mean, there are a number of companies that do, I think it's My Mortgage or something, they do home ownership, a part of PropTech.
Yeah,
Mortgage Mates, for example. Let's take that, for example. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is getting people, but you're part of a generation of co-sharing, so it's not a big issue. It's acceptable, right? So those concepts are great, right? Fractionalisation, similarly, if you can, but that involves blockchain, and unfortunately blockchain's been tarnished with that because of cryptocurrency. One of the early concepts, that's the reason why I did blockchain, was the fractionalisation for people to buy
fractions of a property.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, but it, unfortunately, as I said, it's a bit tarnished because of the volatility of the cryptocurrency. Yeah.
So when we're looking at all the things under the EOIR umbrella, like ESG principles, sustainable and affordability, smarter communities, green data centres, which we haven't even touched on yet, green energy, it's all, everything's feeding into these new products that you're creating using AI
if you start looking at green data centres, I think that because of AI and a number of technology, data centres are going to be massive. We're going to need, everything we do is about data, right? And the idea is that when they build the major data centres, right, we burn so much fossil fuel, right?
They need power to run them.
So part of, for example, the one project that we're looking at, Mandurah, it's got a small data centre in it, but it's powered by solar, right, with battery, etc., right? So the idea is to decentralise them into buildings. So, if you take, for example, the major data centre, you look at the one in Perth, right? It's a soulless building. It's got no windows, right? But if you can take and break it up and decentralise it and put it into buildings, the one that we're looking at on this particular project, it's like a storeroom. It's hidden away amongst, doesn't dominate the architecturals of it. And what happens is that if you're going to have these, you can get a lot more data centres up in short space of time rather than building a massive one. And it gets powered by renewable energy.
Correct. Yeah. What is a data centre for the people that don't understand, the non-techie people?
So everything, it's a storing of your data.
Right.
There are various suppliers that will monitor it or keep it. I mean, your business, I don't know where you keep your data, whatever.
So they're like huge hard drives that are storing data.
They all service.
They all
service. They're racks, on racks, right? And the amount of energy it takes and the heat that it generates poses a problem.
So they all need power to power the servers. The servers get hot, so they need fans in there to
cooling
cool them down.
system, everything,
right. So using that, but with green energy.
That's the concept behind it.
Beautiful. Ron, we could keep talking for ages. Like my mind is spinning at the minute. I'm thinking about the AI stuff as well, because it's a hot topic and it is something we are very interested in. But we will always love delivering affordable accommodation at the market.
No, I think you guys are doing an excellent job, Neil.
Thank you.
And I take my hat off to you guys. It's something that's needed. As you can see, the demand growing. You just cannot. What I hear from my daughter Charisse is that you cannot keep up with the supply.
We can't.
I mean, with the demand. Sorry.
Yeah. So, being somebody that's been in the property game for so long, how have you seen the markets change, specifically in Australia? Because the dream used to be the quarter-acre block with a little 3x1 on there, huge back garden for the kids to run around, and then over time we went to the 4x2, which covered half of the block. And now we're starting to build different houses. Where do you see housing in the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Well, if you take different cities have different levels. So if you say Perth, we can still afford to buy a block, right?
Only just,
okay. But you can already see it in Sydney and Melbourne. The amount of apartments. But what they've taken to another level. They've taken different structures. Co-housing is one. Nightingale does it. But they create communities, right? Green space for the kids, etc. And there's some good examples in Melbourne of that. And it's going to happen. And I do enjoy. I like what they're doing because it gives that human touch, a sense of belonging. Because if you have a home that you own, inwardly you feel as though you're proud of something. Mentally it makes you stronger as well. So, coming back to your question, I don't know what's going to happen to those cities. It's probably going, if we take examples from higher density cities around the world, we're probably going to go up more.
Like Hong Kong, for instance.
Hong Kong, all that. And people adapt. We as human beings adapt, right? So long as you're providing other communal facilities where people can go out, there should be enough green spaces for people to go out, exercise, right, and create sense of community.
Because Perth's got the problem. We've got so much land in Australia, right? The place is huge, but we're spreading further and further out, and the governments are trying to stop the urban sprawl, right? So do you think in the next 20, 50, 100 years, Perth could potentially look like a Hong Kong with all these concrete structures, skyscrapers, everything?
I don't think to that level, because bear in mind, Hong Kong's an island. So the boundaries. So I think we'll be creating more satellite cities because of decentralisation. You know, you might find outlying towns. Take, for example, Busselton might buzz or Geraldton might buzz.
Yeah.
But that's what will happen. They will become cities in time to come.
Right, so Geraldton could become the next Sunshine Coast, for instance.
Well, you never know. You never know. But it comes back to demand and the population growth over that time. But I don't see it, as you say, Perth being, because we do have planning regulations over here in terms of density and that. And it comes back, what's the affordability level is going to be like, right? So you can imagine Geraldton's going to be more affordable in time to come, right? And the demand's going to start over there. But it depends how government drives it, right? What facilities, what work is available in those regional towns to attract those people.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
Ron, it's been a pleasure catching up, mate.
No, it's great. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Let's not leave it 3 years. We might do it again in 12 months and see what's going on in the
No, definitely. I'd be more than happy to share some of the ideas because, you know, I'm at the age now, I don't want to keep it to myself. I want to share it.
Yeah.
You know, what I learned, I'm enjoying. I'm willing to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about artificial intelligence, how they can bring it into their business. I might not have the right answers, but I can hopefully put those people in the right direction. So anybody in the real estate, construction industry want to talk about AI, just contact me. Yeah,
we'll put all your contact details in the show notes of the podcast.
Lovely.
Ron Forlee, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up. Thanks again.
Neil, thanks very much.
Thank you.
I love the opportunity.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.